We're in the off-season dead zone where if we get news, it is normally bad news. But I am here with Wyatt over from Player Profiler, and we're going to give you 6 players that you should buy this offseason regardless of what's happened, right here on the Fast Draft Podcast. And we'll jump right into it. We're going to start off with the news. I had a tweet earlier that this is the time of year where I feel like all these dudes get together and they decide you're going to go on IR, you're going to hold out. Who wants to do crimes this year? You know, like who, and
Yeah.
Quinshon Judkins, I landed on the crimes square, but I still think you should just buy Quinshon Judkins. And the big thing is, we do this every year. I missed out on the Rashee Rice discount, Black Friday sale when something happened and everyone was started like firing away. He is a second round prospect. And I just think that no matter what happens, this is an awful situation. I want nothing to happen. No matter what happens, Quinshon Judkins is probably going to be playing football in 2024 at some point, and not, if not 2025. So I think he's a buy. It's just at what cost that he's a buy for every person. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I kind of want to see where this price is now going to go, in all formats. In the best ball streets, he's already starting to fall a little bit. So it's just a matter of where he actually gets to,
Mm-hmm.
In Dynasty. What's the price? Are people going to panic sell? Is it costing less than a first now? Maybe it's at least worth knocking on doors.
I know one league I don't even know how I did this. It's one of those things where I'm just like, will you add a second to every trade? And I've just acquired like 4 seconds.
Yeah.
And then I sent 1 second for Courtland Judkins. I got rejected. I was like, well, will you accept 2? And then I just wanted to like skip the back and forth to just say like, I will empty the clip on seconds for Quinshon Judkins at this point, if that's what it'll take. A future first, I probably wouldn't do right now.
Same.
Depending on, depending if I have multiple firsts, this is why like I don't like the straight up. I wouldn't pay a first. If I have 3 firsts, I'll go buy Quinshon Judkins for like 1 year. But if I have 1 first, I'm not going to spend that 1 first on Judkins.
And sending the cold second, like some people are going to hear that and say like that's disrespectful. But like there's a couple things. One is that sometimes you just never know when that person on the other side hits accept. I've definitely gotten some trade dones like that before where it was like, I didn't expect this to be accepted. I was just cold calling with a low ball offer just to see what happened afterwards. And, sometimes those trades will at least get the conversation started and you can build from there.
Yep. And then like our rabbit tournament in Bestball, like you said, he's already fallen. He's after David Montgomery, after DeAndre Swift, Chris Olave, pick 70 right now. I expect that to probably keep going down.
Yeah. When stuff like this happens, if you're like me and you're kind of in the streets almost every day in one way or another, I kind of just take a hands-off approach and start to see what's going to happen over the next couple days and then decide if I want to start getting in or not. And like, it's like Quinshon Judkins, if he falls a full round, I'll jump back in and I'll start drafting again. And I'll continue to like see if it falls more, but like I'm going to start now actually getting back in and seeing, okay, I'll get some exposure here. But if like you stop for 2 days and he drops 5 picks in underdog or whatever, it's like, well, it's not even that much of a discount. Like I didn't really miss out on anything. And then you can readjust after that.
Yeah. Next, I forced you to put this player because I thought it was interesting. And I didn't even do this intentionally. I just picked Jameson Williams as someone that I just like. And because of the discourse, he just keeps getting cheaper. And then I saw that like you were on with like Matt Kelly, the Podfather, and like you guys like Courtland Sutton over Jameson Williams. I like Courtland Sutton. I don't know if I'm there with Courtland Sutton. And I want to hear your pitch on, like, do you think he's just a buy across the board? Is this just best ball? Is this just like a 2025 outlook? Or, I mean, like in Dynasty, he's pretty cheap too, even,
It is across the board, but it's more for seasonal than it is Dynasty because he's going to be 30 years old this year, which, I mean, buying 30-year-old wide receivers is not something I'm against. In fact, it's kind of been profitable in some situations in recent years. It just depends on, the actual price you're paying. But like, in 2024, he actually had his best season of his career. It's 14.1 points per game was the highest of his career with Courtland Sutton. And I think it could actually have been a lot better. His expected points per game, according to playerprofiler.com, was 18.3. And if you look at his season, I think it makes sense that early on in the year, as Bo Nix is getting settled in and getting used to Courtland Sutton, they're a little off. But then from week 8 on, Courtland Sutton scores 17.6 points per game. Pretty close to that expected points per game of 18.3. So I think they kind of got on the same page. Now, I'm not saying he's going to score 17.6 points per game for 2025. But if it ends up somewhere in the middle of that 14.1 for the entire season and what he did in the back half of the year, that's a pretty good value for where he's going. It's like wide receiver 24 or wide receiver 25, 26, 27. Like he's in that general range depending on the draft and the draft that you're in. And that seems like a pretty good price to me for Bo Nix's QB1, especially, or wide receiver 1, especially because Bo Nix could continue to improve. Like, I mean, we do this a lot with any rookie that does good or not, is like, well, they'll get better in year 2. And it doesn't always happen, but you do have to weigh that in. Like, Bo Nix was good his first year in the NFL. People said, kind of had cap ceiling coming into the NFL. But what if it's not capped? What if he just continues to get better with Sean Payton in his second year? And then to talk about dynasty, I mean, if you're going to trade for him, I don't know if I want to send straight up draft capital. I don't like sending straight draft capital for wide receivers like this because you basically will always have to send a second for like a Courtland Sutton. I don't really want to do that right now before the season. Maybe in season, I'll be more comfortable with it. But I was also kind of looking around at some real trades. And like I found sending Ramondre Stevenson and Luke McCaffrey for Courtland Sutton. And like that sounds pretty good to me.
Luke McCaffrey is not even he's not even a real player right now.
I found a 27 second and a 26 fourth for Sutton and Gino Smith. So you got another asset on there. And the seconds a little bit later. I saw just a 2028 second for all these degenerates out here. Just the 28 second for Sutton. So, those are all trades I think I would make.
Yeah, in 2028, if you can't get a second round pick in 2028, there's some problem. There's some problem if you can't get that pick back. So yeah, that's very doable. And that's like you said about older receivers, especially in dynasty, and even in best ball, especially, I will build around it. If I see the ceiling there, like Devontae Adams, I'm just buying everywhere. Like I'll click the button every time in best ball. In dynasty, I'm shipping off players that I forgot the trade I did. Oh, Xavier Worthy. I don't think I'm going to win my league because of Xavier Worthy, to be honest. Like especially if Rashee Rice is healthy, he is healthy. Like if he does what he did last year. So if I could get Devontae Adams and an asset on top of that, that's going to help me win. Like Xavier Worthy is my wide receiver 3. I'd rather have just Devontae Adams for a year, and I get someone like Jordan Mason. And I know there's dynasty bros out there that are like just clutching their pearls. But I just don't believe in Xavier Worthy, and I don't really believe in players of that model. So if I could go buy someone who I know earns targets and in an offense that I know gives a lot of targets, just go do that. Same thing in best ball. I think dynasty brain gets in the way a lot of best ball. We see the correlation between redraft, dynasty, vice versa in drafting, where you're just like, well, Xavier Worthy is the young buck. And you said it, he has to get better. But that's not always the case, and especially usually players like that, they tend to regress. So that's just that's just my little tirade to say that you should buy Courtland Sutton. I guess my next question is, because I already spoiled it, Jameson Williams is mine. Do you just hate Jameson Williams, or do you just like Courtland Sutton more?
Now, to be clear, I like Courtland Sutton more in seasonal leagues, not in dynasty. That would be crazy, straight up over Jameson Williams. I'll say that. Yeah. And I don't dislike Jameson Williams, although I did dislike him prior to last year, but he shut me up. So props to him.
Same.
It's just that Lions offense, I think most people, myself included, expect them to regress a little bit, get a little bit worse compared to where they've been, with Ben Johnson leaving, Frank Ragnow retiring. And if that's the case, who suffers from that regression? It could be just like an overall, everybody comes down slightly. It could be someone's role gets reduced slightly in this newer offense. I don't know if it's Jameson Williams. I just know that Jameson Williams was threading a thin needle in 2024. Only 91 targets to produce the way he did. He was very efficient. And I mean, that's a highlight of him as a player, right? Is that he's capable of being that efficient. My question just is, will he continue to be that efficient in 2024? Because I think if things do get a little bit worse, like one of the players I think you can rely on when that happens is Amon-Ra St. Brown, because he's kind of a safety blanket for the offense in the passing game. I think it's easier to get Sam Laporta involved than it is to get Jameson Williams involved necessarily if things aren't going as well as they were last year. Again, it might not be Jameson Williams who like is the odd man out here. It's just if these things happen, I'm wondering what it does to the offense and if that affects him, how it affects him, because he has to be efficient. And if he isn't as efficient as he was last year, is that a little bit worse? So when it's talking about him, between him and Courtland Sutton, it's just this like, if we have to break the tie between them, that's kind of easily breaking the tie for me. Is Bo Nix is wide receiver 1, the wide receiver 2 in the Lions, who has to rely on efficiency, against Courtland Sutton, who we believe is the wide receiver 1 for Nix pretty easily for me.
Did you hear that Sean Payton thinks that Pat Bryant is Michael Thomas?
I know exactly where you're going.
So, like, I would just watch out, bud.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here's my argument.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Courtland Sutton, I think we're drafting him appropriately.
Sure.
Like, where he's at is, like, I think that might be where he finishes, and I'm not sure how much meat is on the bone. And I know that's a very lukewarm take, but that's how I feel. Is very lukewarm about it. Essentially, it's like I think he's fine, and I think you're drafting him at his probably floor and ceiling, unless injury happens. With Jameson Williams, and especially the efficiency thing, I faded the Lions offense minus Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm no longer Team Monty. It's just that, like, I'm holding in Dynasty. I'm not really drafting in Bestball a whole lot. I'm not going out of my way to get him like I have been in the past. Laporta, I'm just off at cost right now. Like, if anything, I would look to buy in Dynasty when everyone else is appropriate back and they think that he's off, but I just can't justify paying that. But I'm also fading Amon-Ra St. Brown because of the same reason, where like maybe the touchdown equity kind of falls off and he doesn't fit that profile. And he's someone that is going to rely on lots of targets, and him and Laporta tend to live in the same area of the field. When I have a target problem, or I have someone that needs efficiency, or you need like efficiency to get the volume or production that you want, I just kind of want the guy who can do it on limited touches. I don't think it's just about Jameson Williams being efficient. I think he is just the type of player that can do more with less. And it's the same thing about why we like Jahmyr Gibbs over David Montgomery. And that's no disrespect for Amon-Ra St. Brown. I've just drafted 0 Amon-Ra St. Brown because it's just like, all right, I'm not going to get Puka Nacua. I'll just rather have Nico Collins, Brian Thomas Jr. Or if I'm going to do that, I would just rather wait on Ladd McConkey type thing. And that's my sales pitch for Jameson Williams.
Yeah, like, he is a good player, like a very good player. Like, I think it's very safe to say that after 2024, there's like no denying his actual talent on the football field now. It's just a matter of if he's able to continue to do it into 2025 at that same level, which, I mean, last year, I mean, they were within 0.1 points per game of each other. So do we think, like, where do they both go from there going into 2025? If you think Jameson Williams is better than what he did last year, yeah, I can understand it. I'm not sure that he's going to be better than he was last year.
I guess just like going 4th round, like a lot of times I can get Jameson Williams as my wide receiver 2 or 3, depending on my build. I'm willing to bet on it. I'm no longer like Jameson Williams wide receiver 1. You know, they're like people that legitimately thought.
Yeah, I don't get that one. Like, don't get me wrong, Jameson Williams is really good, but that's Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, before we go any further, if you like content like this and if you want to keep up with the podcast, hit the like and subscribe button. More importantly, if you want in our flagship tournament, the Rabbit, that is starting to fill up, guys. You want to get in there right now, use my code JAG that is on the screen right now, where we do a $50 deposit match, and you can get in on the action. We also have other tournaments that are going to happen, like cool stuff like I think our Flex 4 just ended, but we're going to have another one if you're into IDP. That'll happen as well. And then when the season actually gets rolling, we will have DFS. So again, hit the like, subscribe button, or hop into the Discord as well, where we're giving away offers as well. All right, jumping back into it, we have one of yours. It is Chase Brown. I have a hard time rostering him, but I get the appeal.
Okay, I like this, so maybe we'll have some good conversation here. So last year, 15.9 points per game, but as we know, he was much better over the second half of the season. That was 20.6 points per game over those last 8 games. He was good on his touches. I think that's one of the things people will tell you is that like he was kind of a volume hog and that's where he got there. But like he was legitimately kind of good last year. He was 10th among running backs in evaded tackles, 15th in breakaway runs, 16th in yards per out run to show his ability as a receiver. And then this offseason, the Bengals just didn't really do much to add to the backfield. Samaje Perine, Taj Brooks in the 6th, which people have excitement for Taj Brooks, but we do need to remember he was a 6th round pick in the NFL draft. And really, the Bengals don't have the resources to add to the position. So I think like he is safe not only for this year, but moving forward, because we just like the Bengals can't pay their players. They can't figure this out. I don't think that they're going to do much to change the backfield now that they have it. They've already have too much money invested in the offense, basically. How do they pay for a running back? They can't really bring anyone in to compete with Chase Brown. So I think in seasonal leagues, he's going to be projecting for similar to what he did last year. I'm projecting a little bit less than that because he was literally getting like 99% of the opportunities for the backfield. I'm sure the Bengals don't want to do that over the course of the entire season. They'll probably give some empty calorie touches to some other running backs, but it's still going to be Chase Brown on all the high value touches. So I think he's going to project very, very well for this year. And I think you can trade for him in Dynasty because, like I said, I don't think things are going to change next year. And for like running backs in Dynasty, I really look like 2 years, except unless we're talking about like a elite running back who's in the first couple years of his NFL career, then I think you can start projecting a little bit further. But for most running backs, I'm just thinking about like 2 years out and kind of just browsing the dynasty marketplaces, just trying to see where other running backs are ranked, depending on your league, because these marketplaces represent people's thoughts. And like, you go on to like Dynasty Data Lab. Those are the startup ADP data is from real sleeper drafts. So when people say like you pull up keep trade cut and people are like, well, not in my league, like, well, it's somebody's league, because otherwise this wouldn't would show this. But you could potentially tier down from Kyron Williams, Josh Jacobs, even James Cook in some places, because I found James Cook being valued ahead of Chase Brown in places. I think that's a little wild. Crazy, but the marketplaces are showing this in some places. So someone has to feel that way. People have to feel that way. And I'd happily tear down from any of those running backs to Chase Brown because I think they have similar outlooks, if not Chase Brown having a better outlook than them. And you can get an asset on top in Dynasty. Like, that sounds great.
Yeah, that's wild. That's just like in the Rabbit tournament, again, very indicative of what you're saying. Maybe not to that extreme in Dynasty. But taking Jonathan Taylor ahead of Chase Brown in full PPR, that's kind of wild. Josh Jacobs, you could kind of see the argument, not really. Yeah, I'm a Chase Brown hater, but like especially in Dynasty, if you could tear down for Kyron Williams, pause this video, keep it open on your browser, don't fuck up the watch time, but like go send a trade right now to get off Kyron Williams. Do yourself a favor, get Chase Brown. And then when Chase Brown blows up, you can turn Chase Brown into who I think is a good running back, and that's probably anyone else. Like I just think it'd be crazy that the Bengals would not get another running back next year in the draft. I don't know why they didn't do that this year. I know why, because they were just like, well, we're not going to pay any of these guys, so we hope one of them sticks around.
They have to address so much else.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. You brought me to Jesus, Wyatt, and that's hard to do.
We did it.
That's hard to do.
I can leave the show happy.
Yeah. Was it the Obama, like the we got him? My last player.
I'm clipping that one.
My last player is Gino Smith. I feel like Gino Smith's a free square right now. Like he's just quarterback is so easy right now, guys. It's not that hard. You want the really good fast guys that run a lot. Get Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Daniels, Hurts, or you're going to fade. Then you're going to take a shot at Fields, one of those guys, or you're going to fade again, and then you're going to get Lawrence, or you're just going to fade again, and then you're going to get Geno Smith. This is what I feel like. There's just why take Brock Purdy? Why in God's name would you take Brock Purdy right now? I get for stacking purposes maybe, but people forget you don't have to stack quarterback. You can just get all those weapons, hope one of them gets touchdown, whatever, and just not get the quarterback established with it. That's one way to stack an offense as well. Or here's another option, guys. It's called a naked strategy. Just go get what you want. I want George Kittle. I'll backdoor draft like Drake May or something like that, or just wait, just get Geno Smith. And same thing, I would even think go all the way to dynasty. What are you doing drafting these guys that don't run? Just go get another guy that doesn't run. That's way cheaper and an offense that it was low. What I mean, like positive regression, it literally cannot get worse for the Raiders. I don't think it can get worse for the Raiders. I think we're going to be fine. It's just go get Geno Smith. I don't know.
Yeah, you're not really going to get any pushback from me on this one. I mean, well, I like Brock Purdy, but I love Geno Smith as cost, like everywhere. In for seasonal leagues, like, I mean, what is not to like? What's not to like about this Raiders offense? Like, especially at their cost. Like, I've been in on the offense in general. I think that this team could impress a lot of people this year, and I think Geno was a big part of that. He could have possibly the best season in his career. Like, it would surprise me at all. But if not the best season of his career, it's still going to be a value at what his cost is. And talking Dynasty, like, you could have sent a second round pick for him, like, at any point over the last few years. And at every time that you could have done that in Superflex leagues, it would have been worth
it. Get him.
It would have been worth it. You could still do it.
Everyone's preying on his downfall, and it's just not going to happen. Like, I mean, ever since that, we saw Pete Carroll say after he got rid of Russell Wilson, it's like, "Do you going to get a quarterback?" He's like, "Nah, I think we're good." You know, ever since then, like,
Pete Carroll knew.
He knew right then, and he's been fine. And then he leaves the Raiders, and like, we need a quarterback. Hey, homie, he's like $4. Yeah, and then like Tom Brady's in the building too. Tom Brady said no to Sam Darnold. He's like, "Nah, I'm good. I want Geno." I just think it's meaningful. And to my point on Purdy, it's not the player. It's the cost right now. He is 2 picks ahead of Baker Mayfield. Why are you taking Brock Purdy ahead of Baker Mayfield? Baker Mayfield just had QB2 numbers. The only thing that's changed is that an offensive coordinator. And you know what? I still think they're going to throw 1,000,000 times because that defense got marginally better. I don't get it. Brock Purdy's going ahead of Drake May. One of those guys runs the football. Brock Purdy's going ahead. Caleb Williams. One of those guys runs the football. It just doesn't. Brock Purdy's cost has never made sense to me. They're like, well, you know, he got paid.
It's a little rich. I'll give you because because of like the examples you just laid out. Like, I'm taking Drake May over Brock Purdy in a vacuum every time.
Every time.
You know, I'm taking Caleb Williams in a vacuum every time because I think he has the higher ceiling. But because of all of Brock Purdy's weapons go before him, it's basically like chicken by the drafters who drafted the weapons on who's going to actually take him first. So he never actually will drop down enough in ADP.
That's interesting draft psychology. That's what does it. That's like, and that's why for me, I am getting George Kittle. I'm never trying to stack the 49ers. I want the 49ers players, but if I'm building a stack, I'm targeting jet stacks. I'll target the Cardinals. A lot of people hate Kyler right now. Kyler is so low in price. I'm like, we're getting out of hand, guys. Like, it's just like, this is a little bit silly. And like, you would think that Kyler Murray is like Desmond Ridder at this point. How cheap he is. Like, I'll do that. I'll stack the Eagles. You could rarely stack AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts, but you could stack Jalen Hurts and Devontae. Cause like, that's why Devontae Smith's ADP will never fall to where people think is appropriate, because you'll reach for the stack for Devontae Smith because of the plus EV when it is his week, you know, like that's just seems like silly not to. That's why I bring Wyatt on, guys. He teaches you things. So that's it on the Geno Smith, guys. Like I said, it's just, quarterback doesn't have to be hard, man. Just like stop whatever dumb thoughts that come in your brain, just say no. I do that as well. Just oh, I should get this quarterback who puts up the same numbers as Gino Smith because of this. Just go get Gino. We're going to finish on one of your players. I accidentally drafted him in an auction draft.
How do did you just like try to price check somebody and then you won it?
Yeah, it was at when we were like betting $1 and shit, and I was like $2. Let's raise that up. Pay more for Darnell Mooney. Someone should pay more, and no one else did. And I'm like, I didn't want Darnell Mooney, but that is me giving that argument is why I think it's proving yours that what you're about to give, because like no one wanted him, but when you look at the production, it's there,
Yeah. 12.1 points per game in 2024. Like at the price that he's going everywhere, why would you not take that type of production? Because it's easily projectable again for 2025 and potentially past that. I like this new thing we've got here on Player Profiler, the explosive play rating. He was 6th in Player Profiler explosive play rating in 2024 because he is their deep down the field threat with a quarterback now, Michael Penix, that's the only change basically for this year, is that this is the same offense, only Michael Penix comes into the offseason as a starting quarterback and they get to work together, all the first team reps, all that type of stuff. Michael Penix has a cannon of an arm, likes to attack downfield. That plays into Darnell Mooney. Yes, I know that he's going to be force-feeding Drake London for the most part, but when he's not, his second option is Darnell Mooney, and that's still a fine place to be because he costs very little in these drafts. Mm-hmm. It's going around like wide receiver 50-ish, like in that general kind of area, like 45 to 50, like around that price, depending. Some drafts he goes a little bit higher, some drafts he goes a little bit lower, kind of just depending on the room. In Dynasty, like it's literally a 3rd round pick if you want to get him on your team. Again, like I was looking up some Dynasty trades because when I like pick out players like this, I want to be like, no, this is a price you can actually do. Again, 2027 third for Mooney, Calvin Austin, and a 26th third for Mooney, which like Calvin Austin's a nothing. I would rather trade Calvin Austin off of my team than trade for him on my team.
He's a roster clogger
because I would rather have the roster spot. Yeah. I saw another one, trading away Trey Benson to get Darnell Mooney and a second, which like I might take the second over Trey Benson straight up and re-roll him right now. So Mooney's pretty affordable.
Yeah, and what's crazy about Fast Draft is where our market for that, since it's smaller, is smarter and where we're not. And like wide receiver we are, I'm like, Darnell Mooney's going around Golden, ETN, Egbuka, and I'm like, well, that's appropriate. I feel like that's not a discount, but like other places, like I think like now in like the like Underdog or DK, whatever, like he's probably Shadow Realm. Like if you're getting like wide receiver 3 or 4 prices for Mooney, that's Shadow Realm for the production that you can get him at. And like you said, Kyle Pitts, man, every interview they come out there. Did you see the one with their offensive coordinator where it's like, yeah, we want him to be better, It's like literally they sound like the dynasty manager too. They're like, yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense, The tape says that he's still open. Just like maybe he's like a dick or something. Just like don't like him or something. I don't know, man.
I think Kyle Pitts is like positionless in the worst way in the NFL.
Like he's like Mike Gesicki, dude.
He does. Yeah, he is. He is like Mike Gesicki a lot, honestly. And that's a problem if that doesn't fit on the team, which it hasn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they would rather have they'd rather have 3 wide receiver sets with Ray McCloud than give the ball to Kyle Pitts. And I think that's like, what?
It's the same thing that's happening to like Dalton Kincaid. Like he's not good enough of a slot wide receiver to play in the slot over the slot wide receiver they have. And he's not a good enough blocker to play in line on certain downs for his team. So where does he end up going? Like, he's just in a bad place. He'll never be in on like those play action plays near the goal line because he can't be trusted to even look like a blocker,
And this, we finally got smart enough to say this because like used to people like, well, we don't care about tight ends that block. And I'm like, you should care about tight ends that block because tight ends that block get on the field. They're like, well, on blocking plays, they don't get the ball. I'm like, that's not how football works. If they have you in because they trust you to block and then they check into a passing play, boom, guess what that is, baby? It's called opportunity. But if you're not in on those plays, you'll never get that added opportunity. It's the same thing what happens with the running backs, where if you're a running back who can catch passes and pass block, that makes you valuable because then they could check in and out of pretty much any play and you have use there. That's like to me, why I tell everyone, like, I'm a Pats fan. I loved Ramondre. I was all in on it. Just go get Trevion Henderson, man. Like, he does all the things that you want to do all the time. You know what Ramondre does? Fumble away his career, quite literally. Like, that's just like, I love that dude, but literally he's the only guy in the offense and he's failed. Like, it's just like, go get these guys who do everything that coaches like. You know, like, all the time you hear coaches talk about blocking and you're like, well, why is this guy on the field? He's a good blocker and that matters. So
yeah,
same thing with Darnell,
blocking. They just have to not
matters.
be a liability, right? So they can just be in there for those plays.
Be a minor inconvenience. That's why I'm really in on and you guys are getting a freebie tight end talk now that we're done with Darnell Mooney. But like Mason Taylor, I really like him because like he's a receiving tight end, but like he is just enough of an, and I mean like an inconvenience for the defense where he's not going to get blown up every play, where I just like that dude could chip block and stay in, that it's fine. Like, I know that he's not the best blocker, but he's not, like you said, Dalton Kincaid, where it's just like, wow, they never ask him to block. That's a, you know,
which is a problem. Like, we want our tight ends to have a high route percentage, but they can't always get to that route percentage if they're not also helping block sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's again, guys, real football matters in fantasy football, and these are the slight edges that I tell everyone. And this, I know it's really hard and it's easy to say, and it's almost a cliche where it all matters, but people really have a hard time with that concept that it all matters, where they'll be like the tape doesn't matter. I'm like, oh, it does, and unless you have something that quantifies it, you need to like be able to understand it. Like blocking now, we can quantify a lot better. PFF, that's about the only thing they're useful for, and they're not even that accurate sometimes on blocking, you know, but at least that's like tangible. But they'll pick out a stat and they're like, well, yards per routes run. I'm like, yeah, that is a great stat. Love it. But like, that's not, it's not like the king, or like Sky Moore would be, why isn't Sky Moore a wide receiver one? You know, it's kind of the things we need to look at. Like, I'm talking about college stats that we look at, you know, like people look at yards per route run and they're like, well, this is why he's the next Jesus Christ. And I'm like, cool. Can't block though. But that'll do it after you go to the freebies. That's a nice tight 30 minutes with Wyatt. I'll bring him back someday, and we'll actually talk pure best ball or pure dynasty. We did a little bit of both. A lot of that's for my own sanity. As always, I'm Jagger May. I love you guys. Hit the like and subscribe button. Do all the stuff that anyone on social media has ever told you to do. Love you. We'll see you on the next one. So I thought I needed. Ooh.